Hey guys, before the video starts, I just want to thank you all so much for the amazing support on the Mob Psycho 100 video. I put a lot of work into that one, and I was honestly fully expecting it to either flop or perform moderately okay. You know, maybe it'll hit 1k views if I'm lucky. But no, at the time of me recording this, we are close to hitting 100k views. What the actual flip. You guys are insane. So yeah, thank you all again for watching me yap about my interests and listening to me being vulnerable and stuff. Sorry that it took me a bit to make another one of these videos. I wanted to make sure that this one came out right, so I let it bake in the oven a bit longer than usual. Making video essays like this is my big dream, so every like, subscribe, and just you guys being here means the world, so I really appreciate it. But anyway, that's enough about me. Let's get on to the actual video. Today, we are here to talk about Cowboy Bebop is a show that honestly needs no introduction. Commonly praised as one of the greatest anime of all time, Cowboy Bebop is a sci-fi space noir western that was released in 1998 by Studio Sunrise. Much thanks to the show's stellar production, voice acting, directing, and of course, its timeless space western aesthetic, it has properly cemented itself as an easy classic for old and new anime fans alike. And look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really wasn't expecting to write this video in the first place. As much as I loved Bebop when I first watched it, I surprisingly didn't have a lot to say about the show. The most you would get out of me in most conversations would be something along the lines of, Cowboy Bebop? Oh, yeah, fantastic show. Easily top 10. Yeah, it's good. Cause despite this show being so high up in my favorites, I just didn't have a lot of thought-provoking things to say about the story or characters, especially back when I first watched it in high school. However, now that I'm a little older, about to reach the ripe age of 23, I decided to revisit this old classic one more time. Honestly, I'm not even sure where this decision came from, but I am really happy I did. Because upon revisit, I realized I greatly underestimated just how down-to-earth and relatable this show's themes and characters are. As ironic as that sounds from a show like Cowboy Bebop, famous for its, well, you know, the whole space thing. Another funny thing I should mention is that when I first began working on this script, I was fully prepared to dissect every character and episode that I found personally relatable and impactful. However, much to my surprise, I could not gravitate towards any particular character in the cast. As much as I expected myself to relate more to someone like Spike or Jet, I ended up realizing that every member of the Bebop had so many authentic and genuine human traits to them, making each one of the members just as relatable as the other. And trust me, if you have someone like me admitting to something like that, that's when you know you got yourself a strong main ensemble cast. So, in order to do the Bebop crew justice, I decided to take a page out of episode 11's structure, Toys in the Attic, and try to devote some time to discuss each member of the Bebop and talk about why I find them all relatable and what lessons we can learn from each of them. I'll be going over some very important key moments in the show, so here's your final spoiler warning. If you somehow have not seen Cowboy Bebop yet, dude, what are you doing? Shame on you. It's 2025. Please go take care of that. I mean, you guys can still stay to watch the video if you want to, and I'd really appreciate it, but honestly, this anime is definitely a must-watch if you have not seen it yet. It's 100% worth your time. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about the crew. To start things off, how about our favorite space cowboy, Spike Spiegal? Spike is the closest dude we have to being a proper protagonist to the overall story, and definitely one of the coolest anime characters in any show put to air. Once a former member of the feared space mafia? I guess that's the closest thing we can call the crime syndicate, right? But yeah, he ended up becoming a bounty hunter out of necessity, after being forced to fake his death following a string of unfortunate events. Throughout most of the show, Spike has this chill, carefree vibe about him, which he carries around with pretty much everyone he meets, with the exception of usually Faye Valentine, and of course, his lifelong rival, Vicious. It's this go-with-the-flow attitude that Spike has that definitely contributes a lot to the cool factor for both his own character and the show as a whole. being able to take on most opponents in a fight and deal with whatever problem is in front of him while having a cool head. Most of the time. If Spike was a static character that was just there to be cool and beat up bad guys all the time, I think he would have wound up being a pretty disappointing one-note character. Thankfully, this is not the case. As we continue to receive drops of Spike backstory in between arcs here and there, we learned that a lot of his laid-back persona actually stems from his rather fatalistic worldview that he has already died in his past due to what happened to him. After meeting the love of his life and the dangerous world that he was already deep into, he wanted to run away from the underworld and start a new life with her. Unfortunately, that woman, Julia, was also the current romantic partner of his previously mentioned rival, Vicious. Shortly afterwards, they were quickly found out and their scheme to run away did not go according to plan. Vicious then threatened Julia that they would both die unless she took it upon herself to kill Spike with her own hands, as a way of proving her loyalty to him and the crime syndicate. Julia did not end up doing this and disappeared, not meeting up with Spike as planned and presumably running away. For Spike, however, he was left with nothing, abandoned by the woman he loved and being forced to disappear as well, leaving behind the man he once was. Spike was never the same after that, and became the chill and carefree cowboy we all know and love today. Except, after you learn about what happened to him, it's really hard to not feel bad for the guy. He left an essential part of himself that day when he left the syndicate, and now when we see Spike going on all these adventures and bounties, we are basically seeing a dead man walking, since that's what he perceives himself as. This is most clearly seen when we see Spike talk about his eyes in the final episode, where he tells Faye that he has a fake eye, and he claims to be able to see the past in one, and the future in the other. What a haunting visual, man. It isn't until everything is finally over where we finally see Spike at peace with himself. But still, that part about Spike where you feel like you are constantly dreaming due to feeling like you lost a part of yourself in the past is definitely something I can relate to.
And we have a lead. So what are you scared of?
Spike, you're avoiding the subject and you know it. What are you trying to hide from me?
So how'd you mess up your arm, huh, Jet?
Jet, on the other hand, is more of the opposite, since he's not exactly running away from his past. Rather, he is always longing for it. Throughout the course of the show, we see Jet looking back at his old life as a cop with fondness, not being afraid to mention his skill set from working at his old job, and taking pride in it. Jet always seems to know people and isn't afraid to reach out to old pals and coworkers. However, regardless of these things, it's still obvious that he is unable to move on from his past since he now lives a very different lifestyle as a bounty hunter. Jet has 2 episodes where his past is the main focus, and they both explore these themes very well. For the sake of time though, I want to focus on episode 10, Ganymede Elegy, since I think that one in particular showcases his character very well. We start things off by Jet struggling to move on from what happened between him and his ex-girlfriend Elisa many years ago, staring at an old pocket watch she left him in a melancholic manner. Similar to Spike, Jet lost contact with his old love due to complicated circumstances. However, unlike him, Jet managed to confront and resolve his past a lot faster than he did. When Jet manages to find Elisa and asks her why she left him, she doesn't give him a straight answer until much later, where she is forced to confront Jet since her current boyfriend was the bounty head they were searching for. When confronted again, she finally tells Jet that she wanted to live her own life away from him, whom she relied on too heavily in the past, telling him that she wanted to make her own mistakes and decisions instead of him deciding everything for her. After all was said and done, Jet decides to stop looking back and move on with his life, and displays this by tossing away the pocket watch that she gave him, acknowledging her words that time doesn't stand still. I think out of all the character arcs in the show that we see, I would say that Jet had the most straightforward and complete resolution, since he didn't take as long to confront his past and make the decision to move on from it. That being said, that specific feeling that Jet represents, the feeling of yearning for the old life and the old way of doing things, is also something I can deeply relate to, especially nowadays. Now, let's talk about Faye Valentine.
That right. And what do you know about hackers anyway? They might have been like that when you were young, but that was a long time ago.
What are you trying to say, Jed, that I'm starting to get old like you?
Well, you can't tell a woman's age by looking at her. Oh, wow!
And you can't tell what a woman will do by looking, so you have to be very careful.
Same with a snake.
On first impression, Faye strikes as your average femme fatale, being able to hold her own in a fight and being shrewd enough to swindle the Bebop crew on their first interaction. However, as we get to know her, it becomes obvious that there is a lot more to her character than meets the eye. When we reach episode 15, My Funny Valentine, Faye opens up a little more about herself to Ein of all characters because, well, I guess you could always trust a dog with secrets. She shares her backstory about being in cryogenic sleep for most of her life and being unfortunate enough to be awoken by a bunch of scam artists who dump a massive debt on her. As a result, she struggles with deep trust issues, and it's perfectly understandable considering the circumstances that she was dropped in. She was forced to quickly adapt to a lifestyle of con or be conned, and was always finding herself in trouble and indulging in quick pleasures like drinking, gambling, and, like 90% of the cast, smoking. However, in the deepest part of her heart, despite her character and attitude, she does care about the people around her, but obviously can't really admit it to anyone. Faye also feels like she cannot truly belong anywhere, partially due to her previous issues in the past, but also because of her lost memory and feeling like an important part of her was always missing. Even before we learn about her backstory in episode 15, we do see signs of her true character in small moments and decisions throughout the show. One famous example being when she abandoned the crew in order to avoid getting too attached in the two-parter special, Jupiter Jazz. And then, almost in juxtaposition, she ended up being very willing to open up about her feelings and issues to a complete stranger. She avoids deep attachment with people like the plague, and yet she cannot help herself and needs companionship. It's not difficult to see why she's a fan favorite for a lot of viewers, since I think she's in a very accurate portrayal of someone who was hurt by others in the past, and yet still struggles to connect with other people with those emotional scars. We also learn more about her deep insecurities of feeling like she never belongs anywhere, since she tragically lost most of her memories in regards to her past after being put to cryogenic sleep, being unable to remember basic things like her real name or any of her past relationships. I think this is a very interesting subversion from Spike and Jet, who cannot help but remember their past, but it's also not too dissimilar to them either, since she still runs away from her past, the only difference being is that she cannot remember it. There's a passing line in one of the early episodes when Faye first meets the crew, and she mentions that she comes from a family of Romanes, always traveling the galaxy in search for love and unable to stay in one place. Even though this is definitely a lie made up by Faye, it's lines like this that give you more to think about after you learn about her true nature and background. Faye's arc ends when she's finally able to find the place where he truly belongs, her old home where she used to live before she was put into cryogenic sleep. However, when she finally reaches there, she's only met with the destroyed rubble of her old house, where she is forced to accept that her childhood had already long passed, and that her new current home is with the Bebop crew, her new family. There's a lot more that happens in this episode, but we'll get back to that in a second. For now, just understand from me, that feeling of always being the wanderer, feeling like you never truly belong in one place, is also a feeling that I can deeply relate to. Finally, let's talk about our final member of the crew. This is going to take many retakes. Edward Wonghua Pepelu Trevusky IV, otherwise known as Ed. Sorry, Ein, no segment for you this time. Out of every member in the whole cast, Ed is the one character that I honestly did not expect to relate to in the slightest. She is commonly known for being the comedic relief of the show, and was way too goofy and silly for me to really resonate with. Sorry if that makes me sound like a joy-killing Scrooge, but that's just how it is. That being said, the more I watched her episodes and really thought about it, I think Ed is actually a lot more deep than I realized. Behind the silly antics and her childlike responses to, well, everything, I realized that out of every member in the crew, Ed actually might represent loneliness better than anyone. Unlike the rest of them, who all have troubled pasts of violence and hardship, Ed's past is a lot more simple. Although she gets almost no dedicated episode to herself, aside from the infamous mushroom hunting, we finally get a deeper look into Ed's character and background towards the finale of the show, when we reach the tearjerker episode known as Episode 24, Hard Luck Woman. While the Bebop ship is on its way to Mars, Faye looks through the video footage she found from a previous episode, where it showed glimpses of her past life and where she used to live. Ed mentions that she recognizes some of the landmarks shown in the video, so Faye, finally given some kind of lead, reroutes the ship to Earth and takes Ed with her to find her old home. On the way there, they make a pit stop to Ed's old orphanage where she used to live. It's there that we learn that she was abandoned by her father at a very young age. While Faye continues to search for her old home on Earth, Ed tries to track down her father as she puts down a fake bounty on him so that the crew can track him down for her. Eventually, they do finally reunite, but the warm moment passes as Ed's father asks her if she would like to come along with him, and then is immediately distracted and runs away before she could give a response, disappearing just as quickly as he appeared. The show doesn't spend too much time on Ed's problems as much as the other members, but let's be perfectly honest here. Being abandoned by your parent like that would deeply affect anybody, especially for someone as young as Ed. So when I say that I deeply resonated, hell, even almost cried when Ed and Ein left the Bebop for good at the end of the episode, you know I really mean it. Not only is the episode tragic due to losing a member of the crew, but you feel like you can't really do anything to stop it from happening. Deep down, we all know that Ed is only doing what she believes is necessary and wants to find her blood family, even at the cost of losing her current family. Finding temporary community with others, while it feels like it's hard to connect with the people you feel like you should be with, is a feeling that I am somewhat ashamed to admit that I also deeply relate to. So now that we talked about each of the members, I think it's safe to say that I feel like I carry a piece of each of the crew members' pain and solace somewhat. Each of them, despite having very different pasts, have their own subtle ways of handling their issues, and all of them very human. There is a video by Ulysses that explains this next point very well, so I actually highly recommend checking out that video. It is criminally underwatched, and he echoes a lot of the similar points that I'm making in this video, but basically, in a nutshell, the fact that these characters are bounty hunters also really adds to the theme of escaping from the past, really effectively. The reason why is mainly because of the nature of how bounty hunters are forced to live. They work and live by the bounty, and can't really plan for the distant future, so they are forced to live day by day. It's just how it is. But there's something about that lifestyle that is also indicative of how it feels to live your life when you are actively running away from your past. When you are so focused on either running away or not confronting your issues, you don't really tend to look too far ahead. When someone lives their lives in the present, it's very common to fill up that empty space and time with whatever daily distractions are in front of you. And trust me, I have no right to judge. I am also a victim of doing this all the time. So, what is the final lesson? What did I learn from a series so rich in subtle characterizations, showcasing the different sides of the human nature through these bounty hunters, trying to get by day? Well, apologies for the cheesy segue, but I will answer this question by asking all of you a different question. What do you guys think is the most used mantra in most Cowboy Bebop video essays? Cause I'll say this much, I'm definitely not the only Cowboy Bebop video essay on this platform, and most likely not the first one you've watched. If your answer was, you're gonna carry that weight, then congratulations, you would be correct. And yeah, it's honestly not hard to see why that is the case. It is the final message that the show gives to us after all is said and done, with Spike finally gaining a sense of closure. The final shot of him almost smiling in peace, only to immediately cut to those haunting words, still giving the same chills as when I first watched it. There's a lot to say about this one sentence and how it perfectly encapsulates what Cowboy Bebop is all about, and how the creators wanted to leave their mark with the characters we grew to love and appreciate. To always remember that we all have our weights to carry in our lives, and that we cannot ignore the past, lest we either be consumed by it, or will be forced to confront it. I want to divert us a little bit and put a different spin to this lesson. Because as much attention and discussion has been had about you're going to carry that weight, I think there's one particular mantra in the series that tends to fall into the shadows, and I think it is very prevalent to what we're talking about today. Can you guys guess what it is? If you clicked on this video and actually have eyes, then you probably already know. Are you living in the real world? These words were the actual final message that Cowboy Bebop gave to us. The last frame that is shown to us, not in the show, but in the 2001 sequel film, Cowboy Bebop, the movie, the real last send-off to the series as a whole. Although not many people tend to bring up the movie in discussions like this, I think it's worth bringing up since I think it's the quote that has stuck with me the most lately. Funny enough, I was originally going to talk about "You're gonna carry that weight" and try to find a way to make the quote work with my script, but I wasn't too crazy about the whole thing. And then as I was ranting to my younger brother, yes, the same brother I talked about in my mob video, he just gave me this look and was like, "Bro, why don't you just talk about are you living in the real world?" And I had the biggest mental facepalm of my life. It really was the perfect mantra, and I will explain why. The movie itself has no real consequences to the main story. Like many of the episodes in the show, you could just completely ignore all the events that happen, and it won't change the outcome or impact of the ending of the show. That being said, the movie still holds a lot of moments and themes that significantly add to the world of Bebop and its characters, and in particular, Spike. Out of all the new characters shown in the movie, it's obvious that the standout star is Vincent. Posed as the primary antagonist, this John Wick lookalike was revealed to be a military veteran from the War on Titan, just like Gren and Vicious. And aside from also being a badass fighter, him and Spike share a ton of parallels in terms of character and themes. Like Spike, Vincent has a troubled past with his war trauma and has a very nihilistic worldview, questioning his own existence and perception of reality. Honestly, the list of parallels and similarities go on and on as the movie progresses, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Just know that, in many ways, Vincent is definitely a dark reflection of Spike's character, showcasing a more tragic and bleak version of what could have happened to Spike if his background and life choices were different. Like, dude, Spike has a scene with Electra where he tells her that Vincent and him share the same soul, like, come on guys. However, the main thing about Vincent that I find interesting is the way that the movie visually showcases the nihilism that he embodies, through the imagery of the most beautiful butterflies you have ever seen. I don't have definitive proof as to why they decided to use butterflies specifically, but I did read somewhere that it's supposed to be a reference to a famous story by the Chinese philosopher Shuang-Shu, who dreamed that he was a butterfly who was then awakened, unable to discern whether he was a man dreaming of being a butterfly, or if he was now a butterfly dreaming of being a man. Whether intentional or not, I think this visualization is extremely effective in not only showcasing Vincent's pain and perspective, but also Spike's. That theme of feeling like your whole life is like a dream is once again brought back with Vincent in a new and albeit less subtle manner, the movie effectively echoing the themes of Spike's story since he is also forced to confront his issues head on as well. More specifically, in the last episode of the show, when Spike finally runs out of time and is forced to have a final showdown with Vicious, Faye asks him why he is throwing his life away. And he tells her that he is not going to confront the crime syndicate to die, but rather to find out if he is really alive, highlighting the turning point for Spike's character in one of the most memorable moments in the whole series. I have no clean way to transition to this part, but I'm about to get much more personal from here on out, so please bear with me. When I look at every member of the Bebop crew, I find them to be a very strange but real example of what it means to have a makeshift family through strangers, and it's one that I find myself relating to more often as I get older. I can say that I've had several Bebop ships in my life. Sometimes I'm more like Spike in these groups, where I can be a central figure sometimes, but I also tend to just not really care about what's happening, since I'm usually mentally in another headspace or just straight up disassociating. Sometimes I'm more like Faye, where I'll not even be present in these groups for extended periods of time, until one day I'll decide that I need the temporary company. All of these groups that I am describing are almost always internet friends that I've met in distant circles, either through other IRLs or common interests. What makes these connections fascinating is that the relational status of who I am is usually really vague. Most of the time, I feel like I am a stranger to these people, and yet I can somehow confidently call them friends, even comrades. I can spill all of my deepest, darkest secrets and problems to any of them, and yet I can't bring myself to show my real face or name to most of them. Isn't that fascinating? Not too different from our favorite bounty hunters in the Bebop. After I graduated from college, I was unable to find a place to live on my campus on time, so I was forced to physically distance myself from a lot of the friends and people that I knew. I moved back in with my family, and as you can probably guess, it's been a very isolating and lonely experience. Although I could still keep in contact with some of my friends online and with very occasional visits, it's definitely not the same as before, and I've had to accept that life is going to be very different from me from now on. But at the very least, I still had my online circles, my favorite strangers from another world. The folks that I could always rely on to help me feel less alone when it feels like nothing on the outside made any sense. I think to a certain extent, having online friends isn't a bad thing at all. I would still confidently say that a good portion of the friends I've met online are definitely genuine friends to me, and I am very grateful to have met all of them. However, I still think there's also a thing as being online too much, and that it can severely disconnect you from real life and the things that really matter. Even though Cowboy Bebop wasn't trying to deliver this type of message in such a direct manner, I still think there's an argument to be made that the show is trying to warn its audience from going down this sort of path in life. And some of you might call me crazy and delusional for this take, but as Aaron Paul once said in the greatest TV show of all time,
but isn't the point of art less what people put into it and more what people get out of it?
So yeah, most of Cowboy Bebop is devoted to the crew tracking down bounty heads and killing time. Out of the 26 episodes of the whole show, only 10 episodes actually focus on developing our main characters or have them confronting something in their past. And only 5 of those involve our actual main character, Spike. By the way, that is not to say any of the episodes are bad, because if I were to list off my 3 favorite episodes in no particular order, it would be Bohemian Rhapsody, Wild Horses, and Hard Luck Woman. 2 of these episodes are exactly what I just described, the crew just going after bounty heads and finding ways to pass the time, but that's besides the point. I think there's something about this episodic nature of the show that is also very true to life. Most of the time, at least for me, I rarely enjoy pursuing things that actually involve me confronting the issues that matter and help me grow out of my shell. As humans, we like to stay stagnant and comfortable. We will protect the mundane and status quo of our daily distracting lives by any means necessary, even if it means doing something as crazy as going on a treasure hunt for a beta tape machine of all things. All of this to say that life doesn't go the way you want, and even though we do our best to fight against it, change will still find a way to rattle the status quo and ruin everything. No matter how hard or how long you run away, the things we put off will always find a way to catch up, whether it be resolving past tarnished relationships or simply leaving bad food in the fridge. We have to always remember that, no matter what happens, we are going to carry that weight. But so what? If we are expected to carry that weight, how exactly are we supposed to move forward? How does one pick themselves up and face the challenges in life that we keep putting off? I ask myself these type of questions all the time, and lately, I won't lie, it's been more difficult to live in reality with all the changes happening in my life. When everything around you seems to shift so suddenly, it's hard for your soul to accept all the new changes as real, almost like it's all some sort of one bad dream. But just as quickly as that feeling comes, it also feels like reality has been knocking in my head for the past few months. And unfortunately, it feels like I am due to wake up more and more each day. And I don't want to. But I know deep down, just like how every character was forced to confront their issues eventually, I will too. Will I be forced to accept my old life is gone forever, like Jet and Faye did? Or more terrifyingly, will I be forced to confront my insecurities head on, like Spike did? Or leave all the connections I made over the years behind, like Ed did? I don't know. But I do know this: the dream cannot last forever, and nothing will get done by just being idle and wasting away doing nothing. In order for progress to be made, one must change, and change means to move forward. And so, I will continue to carry my own weight as I look onward towards my future, deep and endless as the void in space itself. And even if it's terrifying and uncertain, I will always be comforted remembering the Bebop and each of its crew members, each of them with their stories already told in full, with the show leaving me with those burning, almost uncomfortable final words. Are you living in the real world? Hey guys, Unscripted Robo here. If you made it this far, it means that you finished the video, and to that, I thank you. These videos take a lot out of me, and they're kind of my biggest projects usually. So if you made it this far, it means you guys finished it, and I cannot thank you enough. You guys mean the world to me, and I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that for the lack of content lately. I know there's just a lot been happening. In case the video didn't make it obvious, my life has been very chaotic, so every bit of support and like and subscribe, you guys just following me and just always getting ready for the next video I make is just like, I cannot describe the gratitude I feel, dude. It really means a lot. So I thank each and every one of you. I hope the next one won't take as long, but I can't make any promises. You guys will just have to wait and see what happens. If you guys want updates, I have a Twitter and Blue Sky and all my social media is down in the description, so feel free to check that out. Thank you once again to all of my, not only viewers, but also my Ko-fi supporters, people who donate to me and help me make these videos possible. You guys are the best, so I really appreciate it. So that's all for me. Until then, I will see you guys on the flip, and have a blessed day. See you guys later.